Reaching across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight, and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob, and Robbo. News, reviews, entertainment, it's the Ben, Rob, and Robbo. Ben, Rob, and Robbo Show. Ben, Rob, and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Thank you. Amanda just telling me I'm on. Hello and welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. We have another jam-packed show for you today. Of course, 60 Minutes have dropped a bombshell about politics in Victoria, and who else would we speak to but Sam Dastyari, who was actually in that 60 Minutes report. We'll find out what else he has to tell us about that. Been huge news, sackings of ministers and everything going on today. We will get up to speed with that, but we couldn't do it without Ben and Robbo, two parts of the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Hello, boys. Robbo, how are you today?
Oh, I'm very well. I'm very excited about having Sam on the show. This was back to kind of good old 60 Minutes, good stuff that they used to do. So I'm excited about talking to Sam about that. I'm very well, Rob. How are you? Ben, hello there.
Hey guys, how you going? I'm ready for another jam-packed episode. Does this mean we'll have Sam on our show tomorrow as well? Because I feel like, why not have Sam on the show every day?
No, we've done a cheeky swap. So Mulk usually talks TV on Mondays. Mulk has graciously moved to Tuesday so that we can talk to Sam today. So we'll bring you all your television news tomorrow, but it's a reality TV overload. We've got the Masterchef eliminated contestant, we've got the Big Brother eliminated contestant, plus we've got our hot button issues, and all of this goodness to cram into an hour. Let's see if we can do it, and the only way we can is by starting off and getting into those hot button issues. And two women have been charged with vandalism of a Captain Cook statue in Sydney. After spray painting "No Pride in Genocide" and "Sovereignty Never Ceded," the women were arrested by police shortly after a 4 a.m. at the weekend. Police argued against bail, but it was given with strict conditions. The women could have no contact with each other and were banned from going into Hyde Park, where the statue is located. Robbo, is this the beginning of the same anti-statue violence we've seen overseas?
Yeah, I think it could be. There's always been rumblings about this that's going to happen, especially since we do have so many statues to people with very dubious pasts and very dubious experiences when they were alive. Look, this is what happens when something like this ferments and goes underneath society for years, decades, centuries, and people are going to start getting angry and people are going to start doing these things. What I'd like to see actually is, I don't know that I want to see the Captain Cook statue removed, but I want to see far more big statues commemorating, wonderful Indigenous warriors and Indigenous Australians who have, throughout history, have been a big part of what this country is today. The idea that we just have people who, like I said, very, very concerning backgrounds and what they did when they were alive. I understand that's, Captain Cook is a big part of our history.
There is historical context, Robbo. No one is saying that, look, there were atrocities against the Indigenous Australians when white settlers came to this country. There is no doubt about that. But we have to be aware of that. We have to learn about it. It doesn't mean we should erase all of our history, surely.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. We shouldn't erase all of our history, but I want to see more, more contact and more, visions of all of these wonderful Indigenous Australians who have helped. Yes, there was absolutely genocide when white people settled, but there's been abuses against Indigenous people ever since. Like that, it's never stopped. And that's why I think we're starting to see people go, well, you know what? There's a big bloody statue of Captain Cook. That's fine. That's part of the history. But where's the warriors? Where are these wonderful Indigenous people who have given us so much? Why aren't they there? And I think the anger is only going to grow stronger and stronger if people like Scott Morrison puts their head in the sand and say, we don't have slavery here. We've never done that. We're not as bad. Rubbish. It's only going to fan the flames.
So, Robbo, what about the fact that a member of the Greens Party, someone very high or involved in the Greens Party, was involved with the tearing or the defecation of this statue? Doesn't that bode a big problem for the Greens in that, this is a party that was a real alternative to Labor? When I think about the early days when we had the Democrats and the Greens, they really did seem to be middle ground. Like they were left, of course, but they were middle ground that could get things done, and Australians trusted them. No one's going to trust the Australian Greens now. They just seem too radical.
I disagree. I think this speaks perfectly to their base. I think a lot
So
of
hang
people
on, you're
who
saying
vote
that
Greens
people involved in the Greens Party, a national party, it's okay for them to go and break the law and defecate statues?
Well, if I could, hopefully you'll let me answer this question. Couldn't answer the last question, but I'll try and answer this one for you. Again, I think it's part of their base. We're going to see already later. Politics aren't immune from people doing bad things. Doesn't mean we should shut down the whole party. So, with the 60 Minutes story, should we shut down the Labor Party? And they're so corrupt now that we shouldn't worry about them.
Possibly,
Rubbish.
and that's what we'll
Greens,
speak about later. But here we have, I'm talking about a perception issue with the Greens in that...
I don't think there is a perception issue. This speaks to their base. The people who vote Greens and believe in what the Greens portray at a parliamentary level.
This is why they're
I think
becoming
they
a
would like
minor
that.
party with no political influence, because Australians are looking at that and going, too radical for me. And they want... I do believe
No, not all
Australians want an
Australians.
alternative to Labor and Liberal and the coalition, but they can't go to the Greens because the Greens are too radical and don't speak to Middle Australia.
Well, I think you're really painting a very big brush here, because it was a
think so.
Green staffer. It wasn't a parliamentary person who had been voted in. It wasn't a member of Parliament. It wasn't anyone high up in the Green Party. It was
You're
a Green
saying
Party
it's
staffer.
okay. As a representative of the
No,
Greens.
I did not say that. I said it speaks perfectly to their base. That's what I said. I don't think that it's going to cause Greens any harm within the people who vote for Greens at all. And that I stick to that point there. Like, you're really trying to paint me here, and I'm not letting you paint me.
I'm genuinely interested in the fact that a member, someone who is part of the party, thinks this is okay to break the law. And Ben, do you see a problem with this, or am I overreacting? Is it on brand for the Greens?
Oh, well, I don't think that you were listening with your active listening ear to what Robbo was saying. But I don't want to get involved with that debate. I think there was a bit of an issue there. But I would say when it comes to these statues, when we find out that, Captain Cook did terrible things and the statue is still being held up as a landmark that we should hold up into morale, I think that would be really hard for people to understand. Do I think it's a good idea the way these people are protesting by defacing it? No, I don't agree with that. It's very similar to what happened with Margaret Court as well. Margaret Court is an amazing athlete. She did amazing things in this country, but she then went on to say some really damning things about the LGBTI community. Yeah. And then we had to look at changing the court, not having it called Margaret Court Arena because of the things that she had said.
Yes,
I think
but
that
no one was tearing down her statue. No one was defacing the court. We were having a rational
Well, I was well on my way
that.
to making my... Yeah, but I was well on my way to making a point there. And that is that I'm saying there's clever ways for us to be able to make a point without there being property being defaced. So I'm not saying that the property should be defaced, and I think that that is wrong. But I'm just saying we should be smarter with the ways in which we want to change the narrative for people. And, with James Cook, now that we know what we know, should there be a statue in a park like that? I don't think so. But I still don't condone the defacing of it.
Sorry,
so what if we kept...
apologise
Rob, I'll put
because
this to
I thought
you.
we were having a discussion. I didn't realise I had to allocate 3 minutes for a monologue. So I apologise. Who's next?
All right, I think that's unfair, massively unfair.
No, because you
but
raise discussion points and I challenge and I interject, which is part of a discussion, which I have no problem if you do that to me as well. But obviously, I'm in the minority here, so I'll just back off and I'll just let everyone
No, you're in the
have their
minority.
monologues.
It's fine. No, it's fine. But, you know what? Robbo made some really good points and it felt like you just didn't hear them.
But I was challenging him on
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Okay, yeah. And then I made some good points. And before I was finished, you interrupted. And it's fine because, I think what you're saying is valid. We certainly are not taking that away from you. I just highlighted the fact that some active listening was missing. And then I tried to give you my take on the story.
Like that. I listen to everything that's said. And that, I'm sorry, my friend, is patronising. When you say we need some active listening, it's patronising and I don't like it. And that's why I'm now turning into a foul mood.
Okay, well, do you know what I would like to say is that sometimes my manner does come across as patronising. You're not the first person to bring it up, so I probably should put that under the magnifying glass myself and think of a better way to be able to have a discussion. I wanted to make sure that the people that are watching this realise that my opinions were that I was listening to Robbo, and I just was like hoping that I was acknowledging the fact that what he was saying I could see some truth in. That's all.
No, which is fine, mate. And look, you know, we're always okay. You know, like we'll have these spats. We're different to other shows because we don't pretend everything's rosy. If we disagree, we disagree. But at the end of the day, you and I will still have 24 conversations on the phone this afternoon. So viewers at home,
100%.
we don't hate each other. I really like Ben, so it's all fine.
Can I put something to you,
and
Rob?
Robbo, I'm a bit like this on today, to be honest.
Yeah. Can I bring it back to the topic? What are your thoughts then if we had a statue of Captain Cook, but we removed the plaque that said, you know, he's this wonderful man, and actually said, you know, this man did this, but he also did all of these things that actually really affected the people who were already living here, and it's kind of an updated and more factual plaque. What would you think about that?
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with saying on one plaque he was celebrated as, his achievements, but having a section that illustrates, and now as history looks back on him, we do not accept or appreciate these elements of his personality. I actually have no dramas with that. What I have a problem with is people taking the law into their own hands and deciding for the rest of the country what should go on. And I do think Ben made a good point about Margaret Court. But what we had there was a discussion. And the anger that was felt about her comments were taken into account by the people in charge of Margaret Court Arena and Tennis Australia, and decisions were made. And so that's my point. And having said that, I think in America there's a whole different situation where there hasn't been action until these protests have actually really taken place. And so I actually support some of the protesting in America because these people are getting no action. I have a problem when looting starts. I have a problem when, you know, we showed some footage here of a black lady who owned a business whose business was looted, and she's like, you're standing up for me? This is not standing up for me. And defacing public property is not standing up for the rights of what you're trying to fight for. Get it done in a better way. Be smart about it. Get petitions, get organised, whatever it takes. Have a debate on social media. Do it the right way rather than just taking the law into your own hands.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right.
Well, what's
I
wrong
can
with
see
that?
we're wrapping.
Hot tub.
No, I think it's fine. But at the same time, would you say that to the people who pulled down the statue of Saddam Hussein? No, come on, guys. Let's leave that up there for a little bit.
When you're overtaking a dictator, I think there's a little bit difference and all bets are off.
Yeah, but
there is a difference. There is a difference.
Yeah, I get, but it's also this case of there is a growing sentiment in this country that we do not understand or appreciate or accept or acknowledge how murky and how awful our history is. So maybe sometimes we do need people who come along and spray paint a few things onto a statue to kind of start waking us up, to bring us back to the conversation. Because at the moment, the Q&A and the Q&A episodes and things like that, they don't do anything. A social media debate doesn't do anything. But maybe if we see more of these things, because no one's listening, no government's really listening, maybe this is a good conversation starter. They didn't kill anyone. They didn't shoot anyone.
Protesting over Black Lives Matter, that shows you what Australians feel. It's like same-sex marriage. It took protest upon protest for people to say, we want same-sex marriage, and it happened. Protesting does work, but you don't have to go silly and destroy things in the process of protesting. I just don't buy that.
But it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for the Indigenous population of this country. Protesting has never seemed to have worked. So we got the Mabo decision in the early 90s, but nothing else has happened. Okay. Well, and I hope that we continue to see that swing.
All right. An Australian actor turned financial advisor and motivational speaker has been sentenced to death in China. Karm Gilepsie has been convicted of trying to smuggle 7.5 kilograms of methamphetamine. Federal Trade Minister Simon Birmingham has asked on Sky News whether the sentence was linked to the ongoing tensions between China and Australia. He said, "We shouldn't necessarily view it as such. Gilepsie has only 10 days to appeal." Ben, this is an interesting choice of words by the minister. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really dangerous territory because, you know, the man is being held accountable for his actions and he's being tried underneath a different country's Oh my God, I can't even say the word.
I can't say it either, Ben. Don't
Oh
worry.
God,
It's not just
Robbo,
you.
help us.
Robbo, your chance.
Judicial.
Thank you. But like and that's when it's really dangerous, and we have to be really careful when we step outside of Australia, and we have to be really careful about the way in which we are perceived, on top of the fact that this man is actually guilty of this. We can't necessarily protect him. Do I think that China is doing a knee-jerk reaction and killing this man because of the relationship with Australia? I don't think so, and I think that's a really strange place to go into. I mean, that could just be me and my take on it, but I want to say to anyone that's out there, if you are stepping outside of Australia and you are visiting another country, do your research, find out what you're stepping into, and find out what the consequences are for your actions, because Australia won't always be able to help you. There's been plenty of times in our history where the government has tried to interject and save people's lives, and it hasn't worked out. So, I think this is just a part of, it's something that we need to just be really careful of when we're traveling.
Indeed, Robbo. I think there's an important thing here, though. And look, he's denying, his friends and family are denying that he had drugs and all that kind of stuff. So let's just park that for a moment. But I think it's important that when Australians go overseas, we have to respect that there are rules in other countries. And
100%.
while we might not agree with it, if you are taking drugs into these countries, you do face death. That is their punishment.
Yeah, of course. And I agree with that.
Right.
I also really... Yeah, I really agree with Ben. I don't think that this is really connected with the current tensions between China and Australia. This man was originally arrested 7 years ago. 2013 is when he got arrested for it. It was 7.5 kilograms, as you mentioned, Rob. That's a huge amount of drugs. I think it was actually irresponsible of the minister to kind of be very vague with his response to that, because that amount of drugs does absolutely get that sentence in China. Like it's not as if he had a little bit of tobacco and we're going to kill him for that. It wasn't that. In line with China's judicial system, it fits the crime. The punishment does fit, whether we agree with it or not. It doesn't matter. But I just thought it was very slightly fanning the flames by saying we shouldn't necessarily come to that conclusion. I think that's just really, it's not helpful and it's irresponsible.
Yeah, okay. Look, let's move on. And whether it's a grimace here or a forced smile there, many people around the world think that the First Lady needs to be freed from Donald Trump. Well, we've got it all wrong, according to The Guardian. The Guardian writer believes that, like her husband, she's an opportunist and knows exactly what she's doing. The writer cites a new book that says the reason Melania took so long to move to Washington, D.C. after the inauguration was because she was negotiating a more lucrative prenup. Robbo, do you think it's sexist to think Melania couldn't possibly be in charge of her own destiny?
Yeah, I really do, actually. I think this is fantastic, because if she's playing with Donald Trump, then she's going to be at his equal, if not better. And I think this is actually, quite good. We were always told that it was because their son Barron didn't want to leave school in New York and was waiting for the term to finish. I kind of really like this, because this is exactly the kind of games that Trump plays, both in business and in politics. So all hats off to her. My prediction, though, is soon after he either wins his second term or doesn't win his second term, soon after, I'm predicting that there might be a divorce on the cards. I really, really do.
Well, Ben, I always find it funny. We've seen these clips so many times when he's like, you could smile, and she's like, and he goes to hold her hand, she moves away, but sometimes it feels like there's no love lost here.
Yeah, but certainly no one's, capturing any nice moments and selling that story. I mean, who wants to see Donald Trump being nice towards her? That story's not being told. And I just don't know. I'm not there in their relationship, so I can't tell what goes on with Donald Trump and what goes on with her. She's there for whatever reason she wants to be there. She can always divorce him and leave and do whatever. And that would be interesting. I mean, it would be my choice. And I guess that's as a race. I mean, as society, we like to think, oh, what would I do in that situation? Would I want to be chained to, Jabba the Hutt in Star Wars? And I'd be like, no. But, but then there's plenty of people out there that want to be, there's plenty of men and there's plenty of women who are attracted to a man of power, regardless of what he looks like or how his perception is. So, look, I think it's fairly naive of us to completely understand what's happening with her. And all I can say to her is, blink twice if you're not okay.
That's very good. I really like that, Ben. But I want to say, though, that isn't it okay? It's almost like self-defense. She has seen, how Donald Trump treats women.
Yes.
There's not a lot of respect there. So as all of this stuff was coming out when, he was campaigning to be president, all of this awful stuff came out. Is it not right to go, yeah, hang on a minute, you actually don't respect women at all. She probably knows deeper than we do. So, yeah, I'm going to negotiate a prenup. Otherwise, I'm not coming to Washington, and that will stuff you up for the next 4 years. I actually like this as, power to her.
Absolutely.
But you know what's really interesting, just before we move away from that, do you know what's really funny is I just want to open up a little bit about my relationship with my partner. We're a real couple. We fight about real things. And I'm sure that there's been plenty of times where people could have taken a photo and seen Ben and I fighting, walking down Chapel Street, or trying to set up a webcam to be a part of the Ben, Rob and Robbo show, and I've said something really inappropriate.
I've
it's very
those.
easy. I think
Ben always forgets his
been...
mics on when he hooks up to our system, and he's there going,
yeah, exactly. 100%. That's the thing, is that if you're in a real relationship, there's light and shade, and
Absolutely.
Sometimes we have our darker moments, but there also are different reasons as to why people are in relationships, and who are we to be able to judge that, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and look, I think that's fair enough. And I think you could even look at our relationship. We have highs, we have lows. We just experienced one of our lows a little earlier in the show.
We're real people.
Look at Robbo. He still hasn't forgiven me, have you, Robbo? You're still angry. You're still angry, Robbo.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, I wasn't the angry one, though. This is what you
wasn't the angry one.
Off camera. What we see off camera was this. Rob goes...
No, I think we saw it on camera.
Back in his chair. Oh, we did.
No,
Thank God for that.
Anyway, look, I think we managed to move off that topic 2 segments ago, and I will let everyone know that when
I didn't, I thought you went off too harsh, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, while we're talking about Donald Trump, it seems the Commander-in-Chief has a bit of a problem walking down ramps. Well, so that's what happened. A nice, easy walk. He didn't want to fall, is what the Commander-in-Chief said. That's why he was taking his time, even though he'd previously had a go at Obama for running down like the Bionic Man. But, of course, anything that happens with Trump quickly turns into a meme, and we end up with videos like this.
God.
Steady there, big fella. Steady there. Hold on.
And if Chariots of Fire isn't your thing, maybe try this version on for size.
Yeah, big fella. I wish they would hold hands.
So yes, if Donald Trump does anything, we'll see it in memes, Robbo. You got to love the Trump memes sometimes. Whatever you think of the president, the memes are fabulous.
They're so good because he is so arrogant and just think, nothing that he does is bad. So the moment he slips up a little bit, it is absolutely wonderful. And I think we've got one more clip. This is our favourite here at the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. This is where David Attenborough was live on the scene to narrate a wonderful moment.
This extraordinary creature is half blind, half deaf, and this is just about as fast as it can move. That's what's going to happen to you if you live on nothing but fast food.
We love a bit of that. But
brilliant.
look, there's still plenty ahead on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. We will be talking to Sam Dastyari about the political movements in Melbourne, in Victoria. There's a lot happening this morning, as I have no doubt you're aware. We'll also be meeting the evicted contestants from Masterchef and Big Brother. But right now, it's time to get the very latest news headlines. And for that, we go to the Ticker newsroom with Aaron Young.
Let's check the news headlines on Ticker this Monday. Victorian Labor Party is in damage control. The Victorian Local Government Minister and Small Business Minister Adam Somunek has now resigned, or was he fired? The Victorian Premier calling on his Attorney General to investigate, pass the matter on to the state's anti-corruption watchdog. More than 2 million Australians have requested early access to superannuation, claiming financial hardship due to coronavirus. The weekly figures released by the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority shows $14.8 billion has now been leached from the country's near $3 trillion retirement pool. A new wave of anti-racism protests erupt across the United States following another shooting of an unarmed black man by police. Dashcam footage released by the Atlanta Police Department shows the altercation between Rayshard Brooks and two officers before Mr. Brooks was then shot dead. Facebook's fired an employee who publicly criticised CEO Mark Zuckerberg's decision not to take action against posts by US President Donald Trump, the same way Twitter did. Brandon Dale is a user interface engineer in Seattle, wrote on Twitter he was dismissed but publicly scolding a colleague who had refused to include a statement of support for the Black Lives Matter movement. Supermarket giant Woolies has announced all remaining purchase restrictions on items designed to stem COVID-19 panic buying will be removed from today. Comes 3 weeks after Coles did the same thing, meaning the majority of Australian supermarket consumers now can buy any item in any quantity for the first time since way back in March. Let's check the weather map now for this Monday. Sunshine for Melbourne and for Sydney. Brisbane, 25 degrees. Perth, cloudy and 20 degrees. Some showers and overcast for Adelaide, a top there of 16 degrees today. The local market, the ASX, had somewhat of a seesaw of a start today, dropped at the open, came back up, dropped once again. The banks, though, making somewhat of a recovery as that continues. The Dow on Friday, Saturday our time. This is how it ended as well, somewhat up after a seesaw of a week in the US as well. This is Ticker. I'm Aaron Young. You're up to date.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Hope you had a great birthday weekend. Now, in a moment, we will be talking to Sam Dastyari, but for now, let's go over to Robbo.
Rob, thank you. As we head into the final 8 contestants on Masterchef Australia, we are saying goodbye to favourites left, right and bloody centre. And last night, well, it was no exception as we said goodbye to our beloved Khanh. This is how that played out.
Khanh, your gagong was rooted in the classic Vietnamese dish. But your dish lacked finesse and the cooking of your quail was less than perfect.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, that's why you're going home.
Khanh, how you feeling right now?
It's a sad day for me, but I feel as though there's a lot of people in the world right now that are going through so much more than what I'm feeling right now. So I just want to say that you are loved, life gets better. You have your ups and your downs, kind of ride that, and it's all gonna work out.
Don't forget also, you are deeply loved by the people in this room and so many people out there as well.
Oh, it got me last night. It got me again. Thankfully, we do have the wonderful Khanh here on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. Khanh, welcome to the show. It must have been very emotional to watch that back last night.
Oh, that was hard. It was really sad the first time around, and then watching it kind of happen again, it brought me straight back there. I was watching it with my mum actually, and she was crying, and I was like, "Can you please stop because this is already hard enough."
I can imagine. It was really tough to watch, but a really nice moment, and obviously great to have you back in the kitchen. Now, last night's challenge, you were paired up with Reynold. Is it frustrating that you don't get your dishes judged individually, even though you worked as a team?
No, I don't think it's frustrating at all because what you don't see is the input that we both have on each other's dishes. He tried all of my doughs, he tried my filling, he tried it all, I tried his rice. We were trying to fix things together. So even though it looked like it was individual dishes, I feel as though I was also responsible for the fried rice. So he didn't influence me on my second cook, and my second cook is what really sent me home.
Now, has cooking in a way allowed you to find or express your identity? Because you've spoken about you were born in a refugee camp, you're gay, things like that. Does this help you? Does this help express yourself?
Yeah, cooking has always been like one of my big loves in life. I always did it as a little bit of a fun thing, a hobby, and being able to do it now as a job has been incredible. It's coming back on MasterChef has really allowed me to be myself, push my point of view, cook the food that I want to, and just express myself because I feel like it's so important to have that representation on a national platform.
Mm. And do you feel like you are, essentially an inspiration to, young gay kids who are just coming out and they're looking up and seeing someone that's on a national show being themselves? Is that important to you as well, that side of it?
Yeah, it is really important. I don't see myself as an inspiration. I'm just trying my best. I am quite aware that I am on a national TV show and there are a lot of kids and young teens watching me. And I kind of wish that I had this when I was growing up. Someone that looked like me, someone that was of Asian descent, that was a refugee and that was a little bit different on TV, because it actually would have made my life a little bit easier. So that's always sitting at the back of my mind. Yeah.
Now, you became quite emotional last night when you presented your dish to the judges. Let's have a look at that now.
How was that cook for you?
That cook was hard. The day's been hard. Yeah, it's not my style, but I'm really proud of what I've put up. This says so much about where I'm from, my family, what we do.
Karm, what was going through your mind at that moment?
There were multiple things. So what you didn't see is I said this is hard. Today's been really hard because I was cooking against three of my closest friends in the competition. Reynolds, Laura, Millie, and I. We go on walks together. We have dinner and lunches together every single day, even when we're not in studio. We have nights where we play board games and have whiskey together. So knowing that one of us was going home made it even harder. But cooking a dish that I loved definitely was the kind of cherry on top. I pushed really hard that day just because I think it's important to show that even though Vietnamese food may not be seen as fine dining, that it doesn't need to be elevated, but it can fit the brief if I push hard enough, and that was what I was trying to do.
Now, tell me, is there a particular food or ingredient that you just will never cook with because you've had a bad experience with?
Yes.
And what is that?
Yes. Yes. Horrible interview. Like horrible. He only just said yes. Okay. Bamboo shoots.
Oh, why is that?
What it is about them. I've had a lot of bamboo shoots in dishes that I love, but it was one dish where the bamboo shoots was eaten, and it was so overpowering that now when I look at a bamboo shoot, all I can think is this flavor that I just do not love, and I'm just like, I'm not going near that. Saying that though, it's in one of my dumplings, and I can't taste it in the dumplings, but that's the only time that I would use it.
Now, also, tell me what's one of your guilty pleasures? What's Khanh from Masterchef? What's one of his guilty pleasures when it comes to food?
Wicked wings.
Wicked wings.
Wicked wings. Like,
from KFC or homemade?
No, from KFC. I'm not even guilty about it. Like, I don't even feel bad about it. I will live tweet that. I would sit and eat a box of Wicked Wings for anyone to watch because that is lit and that is delicious.
They are lit. And obviously the Colonel, he's just, a master at cooking. So we're glad that you like KFC here because I certainly do too, Khanh. One more thing before I let you go. A very important question that I ask everyone. What is for your tea tonight?
Oh, tea tonight. Okay, Mum, I think, is cooking, not myself. So I think, what's she gonna make? She's gonna make a broth of some sort with probably pork bones, and it's gonna be leafy green in there, and that'll be the light part. And then there'll be some rice, and then there'll be something that will be really heavily caramelized in maybe a fish sauce caramel. So I feel like prawns. So I'm gonna ask her to do that. Maybe prawns, shallots, spring onions in a fish sauce caramel. Heaven.
Oh my goodness, delicious. So if you could just quickly ask your mum now, what does she want me to bring over tonight? Because I don't like turning up empty-handed. But, if there's a bottle of wine or something I should bring.
She'll probably say bring her a boyfriend. Just like...
Oh, okay. All right, lady, we're all waiting for one. I hope that she gets to see this interview. I hope she does. Khanh, you're an absolute treat. We can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you very much for being on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show.
Thank you for having me. Bye now.
That was Khanh there, the latest eliminated contestant from the MasterChef kitchen. And the adventure continues tonight at 7:30 on 10 and Win. Rob?
Oh, thank you, Robbo. Looking sexy. I don't know why I said that. Now it's time for the random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
And today we're taking you to Tokyo, Japan. I love this crossing. And before COVID-19, when you saw this crossing, the amount of people that would be there and how regulated it was It was actually a sight to behold. But it's going to be a partly cloudy day over there with a low of 21 degrees and a high of 33 degrees. Let's have a look at some feedback coming into the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. I think Rob means deface, not defecate. Probably. I think you might be right there. But I stand by it. It was defecate. Amanda says, I think the Greens are like Peter. They started off with a good idea, but over the years they have become more irrelevant as they have become more outrageous with their words and actions. Yes, Amanda. Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Madsen says, we like Madsen, he writes in just about every day. I don't agree with pulling down statues of historical figures. It's almost as if they are rewriting history. Bass says again, it feels like these movements start as a noble cause, but quickly get hijacked by extremists. And we'll give the final word to Mary on Mr. Trump. God, there is not enough money in the world that could make me live with Mr. Trump. Okay. Well, last night we saw the most shocking eviction yet on Big Brother as Queen Talia was dethroned. But before she was evicted, the Queen was not going down without a fight.
The most upsetting thing was, I think Angela was trying to maybe save herself today.
What did you say? Myself and Dan are nominated. There will be blood in the Big Brother house tomorrow.
There definitely will be.
So that's a threat because
I think you're digging yourself
you're putting yourself
Sorry,
in
Sonia,
a
did you ask me the
pedestal.
question? Or Angie, just a bit confused.
That's putting yourself on a pedestal like I'm untouchable.
I think you tried to save yourself.
No, I didn't. I'm friends with everybody here.
Yeah, well,
but
not
if
what you told me today. Not what you told me today.
And Dan,
not what you told me
do,
today.
There'll be blood. Nobody says that, darling, because that means you're on a pedestal. Do not come for the king and queen, because we're gonna come for you. It doesn't work like that.
I am so thrilled to say Talia joins us now. Talia, welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm a big fan. I loved you in the house. You were quite controversial. Do you understand why you were controversial?
Yes.
Well, good. I like that. You had control of the house from the get-go. You played a good game. Was it a smart game?
I think like everyone at home would be like, oh, that's not smart. That's not smart at all. But I definitely didn't play a smart game. Like winning the first challenge, I had to put 3 beautiful people up for eviction that I had only met for 3 days. And then I had to put another 3 people up at the end of it. So yeah, it's hard. It is hard. So there's 2 games in the Big Brother house. You have to be strategic and then you have to be good at challenges. And I was just good at challenges.
You were very good at challenges. I mean, out of the king and queen, you certainly were the one bringing home the bacon. Dan wasn't pulling his weight at all.
Yeah, no, Dan definitely let me down there.
I've got to say, I picked you as a strategist, and I'm really keen to know if I got this right or wrong from the get-go, because when we see these scenes of you being consoled by the housemates that you nominated, was this strategy to put on the waterworks and get them to look after you?
Yeah, no. That was all chill. Like, that was fun. It wasn't fun. It was, they were fine because they know that at the end of the day, like, someone had to win a challenge and someone had to put 3 people up. And I was so, at that point, I was so beautiful with everyone in the house. We all had such a good friendship. So they were okay with me. They said, you know what, this is okay. And so I have a beautiful friendship with them today.
I know Ben is chomping at the bit to ask you some questions. Ben, go for it.
Talia, can I just say, watching this series, you were one of the most impactful housemates. And whilst people may have loved you and people may have hated you, the next episode, I feel like there's a big hole in the show with you going. And I was really disappointed. People love to see huge characters. Now, what I want to ask you is, people perceived you either to be a strong player or people even threw around the term bullying. Now, I want to say, while I bring up the B word, which I don't throw around lightly, people claimed that I was a bully on my series of Big Brother by the way in which I was playing the game. How have you coped with looking at some of the news headlines this morning with people saying you're a bit of a bully?
The people that are saying that I'm a bully have no idea who I am. They don't know me. They've watched the most edited show in Australia right now. They have no idea who I am, and you know what I'm going through right now. Lots of people
100%.
abusing me, telling me to kill myself. You're the biggest bully. Like, you're the reason why girls have.
Hang on. Sorry, can I just confirm that people are literally telling you to kill yourself?
Yeah.
Well, how do you deal with something like that? I mean, we've seen people in the past, Charlotte Dawson, where that kind of pressure ended up affecting her and she did take her own life. That's a big thing for a 21-year-old to have to deal with.
Yeah, so it is definitely hard because these people are seeing the edited side of me on TV. They're seeing 2 hours of 11 days. Like, I was in the house for 2 weeks, but on screen it was 11 days. Like, they're seeing 2 hours of 11 days. Like, they can't just go back. Like, I was a butterfly the rest of that. I was like loving everyone, like getting along with everyone. And it's hard because Big Brother kind of failed to show the caring, loving side of me.
Which it is a show about drama, so I do get it from that point of view. I guess I'm just always confused by these people that are attacking you for being a bully and then say kill yourself. I just find that I can't fathom.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm a very positive person, like ADHD kind of person. So when people are telling me you're such a bully, how could you bully people by getting up and leaving? And they don't really know that I was actually talking to her for an hour and a half before I got up, but they make it look like she sat down next to me and then I got up. I just think the people that are behind the screen, like their little phone screens, messaging me, telling me to go kill myself and that you're a bully, they don't realize that this is edited TV. Like, if you get addicted to someone's character in this show, it's not genuine. It's not a real character unless, you are seeing that fun side. But some people do go on the show to be villains. And I went on the show to try and win challenges and have fun. And I feel like Big Brother kind of failed me a little bit because I wasn't the character that was portrayed on TV. And a lot of the housemates have come together and have supported me so much. And I'm so thankful that those housemates were in the house because the amount of support I've got from them is ridiculous. I love them all so much.
Isn't it funny how something so simple can make viewers turn off you? And I've brought something with me right now, which is a frozen icy pole, which I'm going to eat in front of you right now. And there's a scene where you're sitting there having this super duper, and I believe that it was nothing else that you did on the show except eat that super duper loudly that turned the Australian public off you. What do you have to say about that while I have the super duper?
I just want to watch you eat this super duper. Marissa and Hannah are actually talking to me, and I was actually having a beautiful chat with them both saying, this is the reason why I put you up. I love you. I have a feeling that none of you are going to go home tonight. La-di-da-di-da. Because I had the ins and outs with everyone telling me, vote Sabong. You don't know where his head at, and he's such a beautiful, strong person. And, I think the boys were a little bit threatened by him, which is fair enough. But you could clearly tell that I was talking to Marissa, and she was talking back to me, but they just chose to silence and show the wrapper. So everyone knows what I look like eating a super duper now. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about this because, looking at in a retrospective way and looking back at your time on the show and knowing that the producers that also make Survivor have a tendency to do an All-Stars, or sometimes they bring housemates back. If you do go back into the show, what is it that you feel that you would change, knowing that you can easily be manipulated the way you were?
If I'm actually literally going to be 100% honest with you, I wouldn't change a thing. I know it sounds like, why wouldn't you change a thing? But the thing is that I went into that house. I was not a bully. I was not this person. My housemates know that I was a genuine girl. I was beautiful. I was strong. I was confident. And
but you were also
I know
playing a
that-
game. You weren't actually doing anything wrong. You were choosing. It's either you be nominated and evicted or someone else be nominated and evicted.
Yeah.
That is the game. That's not bullying.
Yeah.
You weren't belittling people. I certainly didn't see that on screen anyway. You weren't marginalising people. Friendships develop. You had your clique for sure. But that's not bullying. This idea that it is bullying. And what I loved about you is you stood by your convictions. You had a problem with Angela, and when she went to hug you last night, well, let's take a look at what happened when she tried to hug you last night.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
I love that. I really love that. I got a couple of quick rapid fire questions. You obviously had a thing for Dan. Has anything developed outside the house?
I don't have a thing for Dan.
Oh, come on. Talia, I saw the look on your face the moment you laid eyes on him, and then the moment Hannah, made a little beeline for him, you were cutting that down. There is no doubt you had a thing for him. It might have just been a little crush, I'll grant you, but you certainly had a thing for him.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, since you guys have been so supportive of me. At the start, the first time I saw Dan, I was like, wow, he's flirting with me. He's good looking. He's tall. I love a tall man. But then I was like, nah, this guy's a genuine guy, and he is a friend that I want to have in my life for ages. So yeah, at the start, there was a bit of flirting. How you going? But now it's a friend, and I love his girlfriend. She's so amazing. And yeah.
All right. Talia, seriously, I wish you were in the house longer because you provided some great entertainment. We love seeing you. And, I'm sure the series will go on and be great, but it will have a small piece of it missing without you. So thank you for being on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show, and thank you for being such a great Big Brother contestant.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for actually seeing past all of that.
Good on you. Well, there have been claims of branch stacking in Victoria, with a minister caught on tape gloating that he will decide who the next premier is. 60 Minutes aired the claims last night with hidden camera vision and audio recordings in which it's claimed Victorian Minister Adam Somyunek handed out over thousands of dollars in secret cash drop-offs and used political advisors meant to be working for other MPs to stack branches with fake members and amass significant political power inside the Australian Labor Party. I'm going to show you a clip and a warning. This clip does contain severe coarse language.
This anonymous middle-aged man withdrawing cash from an ATM in the suburbs of Melbourne has no idea that for months now he's been watched. His name is Adam Somyurek. Most Australians have never heard of him, but he wears several hats. He's Victoria's Minister for Local Government and Small Business. The title he's worked hardest to achieve, though, and the one he desperately wants to keep, is Most Influential Man in the Australian Labor Party. Just ask him.
I'm the fucking minister. I'm the most powerful man. I'm keeping...
Anyone who's anybody in Australian Labor politics knows the name Adam Somyurek.
But tonight, Adam Somyurek's in for a shock as we expose the rotten and corrupt operation this Labor heavyweight runs. Adam Somyurek's quest for supremacy has now backfired because he's become the target of a year-long covert surveillance operation. 60 Minutes and The Age newspaper have obtained more than 100 audio and video surveillance files. It's undeniable evidence which lays bare the dirty underbelly of the ALP. What we reveal is as audacious as it is wrong. It includes corruption and cash drop-offs.
It's just an incredible compilation of damning material.
Fake ALP members and orders to forge signatures.
Commonly carries a heavy jail sentence, not months, years.
Taxpayer-funded rorting.
The guy got a $30,000 fucking pay rise. It's because of a factional thing, and we're in a state of war.
And politicians turned into puppets.
We're going to take over. I'm going to fucking knock her fucking head off. She's a fucking psycho bitch.
by Labor's faceless man.
Oh, we're just spraying the joint. It's who I say is going to be the fucking premier.
Extraordinary stuff. Former Senator Sam Dastyari, who appears on this show every week to cut through the political spin, appeared in the program last night and joins us now. Sam, this story has certainly made headlines today.
It was. So a few weeks ago, 60 Minutes contacted me and said, look, we just want a bit of background kind of conversation around the Labor Party. And I knew it was going to be directed towards Adam Somirak and that, but look, no one knew the extent of the footage they had. Hours and hours of private footage where you touched on, I mean, there was so much to touch on, even that little kind of bite couldn't touch on it all. Swearing about the Premier, abusing female members of Parliament, signing up fake members of the Labor Party, and actual footage of forging signatures, removing cash from bank tellers. Even by the 1970s standard of the worst Labor Party, this wouldn't cut mustard.
Well, look, it didn't take long for Somirak to say he resigned this morning. That was completely contradicted.
It didn't work.
Sorry,
Sam?
Things
are pretty bad when you offer to resign and the Premier says, get fucked, I'm sacking you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Dan Andrews was having none of that. No glorious exit, no respect. Dan Andrews made it very clear he was sacked.
At just after 9 a.m. this morning, I met with Adam Somirak and I informed him that I would be writing to the Governor to terminate his commission as a minister, to essentially sack him from my ministry. That letter was sent moments later and the Governor has accepted that advice and Mr Somirak is no longer a Minister of the Crown. I also informed him that it was my intention to write to the National Executive via the National Secretary of the Australian Labor Party and seek from them a termination of Mr Somirak's membership of the Australian Labor Party. That letter has been sent and it is my expectation that the National Executive will agree to terminate Mr Somirak's membership of the Australian Labor Party. I also want to be very clear with you that I now regard Mr Somirak as no longer a member of the Victorian Parliamentary Labor Party, no longer a member of my team, my caucus, my government. I have also asked the Attorney-General to refer all of these matters, as canvassed last night on the television and in various newspaper reports today, to both Victoria Police and to IBAC. And the Attorney-General has written in those terms, those referrals have been made.
Sam,
that's not good.
From a politician doesn't get much stronger than that.
No, that's not good. I mean, look, let's be honest. He's out of the Labor Party. That's going to be inevitability. He was going to be out of the ministry the second he, quote-unquote, swore about the Premier and let alone some female ministers. His big problem now is what crimes has he committed? The Victorian laws... Allegedly. No, well, the question is whether he did or didn't, right? Victorian laws are obviously different than laws in other states about whether or not whether there's fraud there, whether there's misuse of public money. These are obviously questions for the police, and they'll look into them. But he's in a world of pain, and the bit that's I think a bit alarming is you never normally have this kind of footage. So the office of the Federal Member of Parliament, Anthony Byrne, this has all kind of come out this morning, was involved in recording all of these events. How legal that was or wasn't, I suppose, is for others. To what extent are you allowed to record people without their knowledge that they're being recorded? Telephone conversation. It's different in different states. That's going to be something that will be disputed. So on one hand, he's got this legal argument about this is, how did you get this information? Is this information right? But let's not pussyfoot around this. In the court of public opinion, that counts for nothing.
Yeah.
He's dead as a duck.
He's dead man walking in the court of public opinion.
Well, I mean, look, it's okay. Branch stacking is not new, right? And recruitment in political parties to win numbers is not new. Normally, it gets a bit sketchy at the edges. So, I'll give you a sketchy example, right? I invite my cousins and my family to join the Labor Party simply to support me. Right? Now, where's the line between, hey, I want to support my cousin or my family member, or, I'm a stack in the Labor Party. There are greys there, right? And then there's this other extreme, which is people don't know they're members of the Labor Party. They don't
Well,
know
this is
who
the
paid.
key, isn't it? Because we saw in that he was asking people to forge signatures of family members and extended family. And so this is what we're talking about. It's forgery and misuse of public funds, isn't it? Are they the two
Forgery-
headlines I should be
yeah, well,
taking out?
Definitely. Look, I'm not so sure about the misuse of public funds because it looks like he spent his own money, but also he was instructing these young staffers, and you saw footage of it, to go around and essentially break party rules and maybe in some cases break the law. You know, if there's going to be anyone you feel sorry for in this, I think there's a bunch of kids in their 20s who were probably looking up to people who felt like, you know, you do what you do in the crowd that you're in.
Yeah,
You look up to
100%.
them.
But
And
Sam,
I hate
what I mean when I'm
proper
talking
too.
about the misuse of public funds, he had staffers paid for by the Parliament for the Labor Party that weren't actually doing the work they were employed to do, but were helping with this branch stacking.
Yeah, and look, again, there's the grey, and then this is not even that. So I'd say the grey area, right? It's quite common. If you work in politics, you live in politics, you have a career in politics, sure, you're likely to be engaged in the process still, and that means that maybe I'll zip out for an hour at lunch to go visit someone for a coffee, or I might, on a weekend or something, go out and hold a bit of a meeting. Those things happen. That's natural. This isn't that. This is people who appears were being paid simply and solely for the primary purpose of their job. And look, the problem for the Dan Andrews government is it's not going to stop here, right? There was a whole bunch of other ministers implicated. There's a question of who knew what, who knew this, who knew that. So I agreed to do this interview about a month or so ago. And I got to say, The Age and 60 Minutes did a pretty incredible job of keeping it very, very, very tight.
Because you didn't know the full story you were part of, did you?
No, I was there as I was there like as an expert commentator on political scandals. Hard to believe why, probably because I'm friends with you. But so look, and it was just kind of a general kind of conversation. But yeah, hey, look, let's be honest, right? As I said to someone else, if you ever get a phone call that says, "Hey, 60 Minutes is going to do a 1 hour special on you," it's not going to end well.
No, I did like the way he was writing it off. This will be good for business. They'll make me look like a powerful player. The big issue facing now is Labor in Victoria and Labor for the rest of the country because everyone's tarred with the same brush. We've had the party plagued by these scandals over the years. Why should voters trust the Labor Party?
Yeah, look, I mean, first, let's be honest, I think this is a bit of a plague on all your houses. I think public confidence in political parties is at rock bottom, whether you're Labor or whatever, right? I think unfortunately this is kind of a bit of we expect it from the different parties. I think it's a particular problem for the Victorian Labor Party, and the quicker, you obviously Dan went as strongly as he could. The quicker you act, the tougher you act, the stronger you act, will lessen the bleed. But look, I mean, you saw it. There was a whole bunch of staffers. There was other ministers implicated. To what extent they did or didn't know about what was happening, you can just imagine the Victorian opposition is going to have a field day trying to get to the bottom of who knew what. But the story is, look, it's amazing how the media cycle works. So 8:30 p.m. last night, the story runs. By 9 o'clock, anyone who knows anything knows Somrak's dead. And 12 hours later, it's kind of like, what's next? Who's implicated? Where do they go from here?
So that'll be the next part, isn't it? The media has its first scalp. Andrews came out looking like a good leader. So now it comes down to the fallout.
Yeah, and it's not good. If you're Dan Andrews, the last thing you want right now is to be talking. What's the guy say? The second you're talking about yourself, you're not talking about the electorate. You look like you're out of touch, and this is completely unhelpful. And I've got to say, it's been interesting because I think 60 Minutes has, in the past 3 weeks, 60 Minutes is a bit of hit and miss. So they did a couple of weeks ago about Pete Evans that got slammed. There was this Cost Scanlon's piece a week or so ago, which was kind of I think the story was fine and the promo was a little bit sensational. And then here you had a fairly sensational promo, and my social media, because I have a political feed, was lit up with saying, they're doing it again, they've got nothing. You go, they've got a fair bit.
Well, that's the problem when you lie to the viewers. I saw that promo, I went, yeah, what is it really? Turned out to be a cracker of a story. Sam, thank you for your insight.
That's why your promos, that's why your ticker promos are always spot on. Your Ben Robin. I told you, if you had the proper promo you should have had, which is 2.5 gays, everyone would know what they're getting.
Sam, thank you. We will see you next week.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
We love Sam Dastyari. And boys, that brings us to the end of an eventful episode of the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. Robbo and Ben, thank you very much. We have got to get off air. The team at Ticker are waiting for the latest news and their latest 2 p.m. programming. Boys, we will see you tomorrow.
Bye.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo show.